Sure, but that's why we need to strengthen the church.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the time has come to say, you got to do more than hoop on Sunday.
Yeah.
The church is the single most sustainable and strongest institution in our community. It must become relevant again.
Yeah.
It must be the place where the family is reconstructed. Mm-hmm. We ought to have youth programs being operated in our church all summer long. Mm-hmm. Not just a church, but many churches. Mm-hmm. And young people would come doing constructive things. Right. But how many churches, if we drive through Waterloo after this show, how many churches are going to have their doors locked? Literally. Mm-hmm. Instead of having kids flooding in and out all summer long. You know, and so we've got to take and rebuild. You know who can rebuild family? The church can. Because you may not be blood of my blood. My two daughters are not biologically linked to me, mm-hmm. but they're linked to me by our souls. Mm-hmm. We must recreate that spirit, and we know we can as a black community, because after they sold you and him, mm-hmm. 150, 200 years ago, we had to form a new family from who was left.
Okay, but I do notice that, when I was growing up, if a member was in trouble or needed something done, there was a response, or if a husband was sent to jail or whatever, that's what is happening now. But when we were living in our neighborhood and everybody looked out for us, you still had, if there was a male absent, you had who to step in? An uncle, a cousin, maybe a good friend. But the children weren't just left out there with nothing. Adults were just not left out there with nothing, because we learned to live together and to work together, and a lot of that has been lost.
Well, I
3 minutes.
Constantly think back to when the movement of Dr. King started in the South. He didn't write a grant to support him in his effort. The money came from the community, and again, the community going to have to sustain itself. I believe we were able to do that, and looking again into the book, in 1999, we earned over $750 million. That's in 1999. We're doing a lot more than that now. We can sustain ourselves. Mm-hmm. We just basically got to get in our heads that this thing, no one else gonna fix our problem.
Right.
We must fix our problem. We have the resources. Not only do we have access to the resources, we have the people. Mm-hmm. We have the money. Mm-hmm. And Dr. King didn't build his organization off of grant money. Mm-hmm. And we need to get in our head. No one is going to support us until we, I'm going to use a phrase from Jonathan, and then I'm going to leave it alone. He said, power is not given. It's, you either take it by demand, or either someone create a void and you step into that void. Mm-hmm. Power, people just not going to hand you the power to go up in the state of Iowa and change everything. Mm-hmm. If you get that power, you're going to get it because you demand it, and I believe we have the resources to change everything in our community.
Okay. Closing. Got a couple minutes left.
I would say this, and I thank Reverend Young for coming up and for his leadership. Yes. He's sincere, and that's so important. And thank you for the opportunity to be on the station. I often use this as an example of legacy and sustained excellence, which Marcus Garvey years ago said was the only response to racism. We must understand that there are a lot of good, decent, hardworking white folks out there that are hurting too. Mm-hmm. It's not always about race. Mm-hmm. We deal with race just because it provides us certain starting points that we can be effective. But the time has come for us to realize that if we don't fix our problems, no one else will. If we don't care and love ourselves, no one else will. If we don't care for and love and raise our children, no one else will. We can either be the solution, or we can continue to be what we've been, which is a multi-billion-dollar exploitation industry that has profited others to the detriment of ourselves.
I think that that's a fair assessment. Sad to say it's true, but the thing that is, there are those of us, like Reverend Young, as you said, who's willing to step out and provide leadership and let people know that the power is in their hand. They have to learn to exercise it. It's not an absence of power. There's all kind of power in our communities, but through expertise and whatever, tutoring, whatever is needed. But if that doesn't happen, then you get what you get. And that's where we've got to cut the line. We've got to want to get whatever that is, more of, whatever that is, more healthy, more money, more whatever. But that's just not going to happen. There's a process to all of that. And we haven't been exposed to it, or haven't, enough of us haven't embraced it, but it's got to come, because we don't have anywhere else to go. It has to come.
Just like Sam
And
Cooke
from
said.
us.
Just like Sam Cooke said.
Change gonna come.
What do you say, Reverend?
Change is gonna come.
Change is gonna come. Closing remarks, Reverend Young?
Just thank you for having us on and for being here once again in Waterloo. Looking forward to meeting some great people in Waterloo and working with them. We can change this state. We can change this nation.
All right.
All we have to do is have a made-up mind, and let's go do it.
Well, we want to say thanks ourselves to you for coming and bringing this conversation to the table. We need to do more of that. A one-time deal won't work.
No.
You know, we have to hear something about 7 times before we begin to accept it. It isn't that we don't understand, we just don't pay attention. And we use our energies on other things that will not advance us either individually, our family, community, state, nor anything of that sort. So I think that people, when they learn to make decisions and people help them to know, this is, if you want to be here, this is what you need to do. Or do they know what to do and just not doing it? I think we have a lot of people in that category. So I think this initiative certainly would work, and it is needed so badly, and there are many of us who don't understand that in some areas we are worse off than ever. Want to thank Jonathan Narcissus, who has the bystander, and Reverend Young. Reverend Young, which church do you?
Mount Hebrew Missionary Baptist Church in Des Moines.
All right,
Call me up if you're ever in Des Moines. Look.
Okay, now you heard it from Reverend Young himself. We want to thank you. And Jonathan, hope we'll be hearing more from you, so in the future. And we just want to wish you the very best, not of luck, but of cause to go forward, to keep you going forward, because that's the only thing that is going to change our situation. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Signing off.